So around the end of last year, I decided to do a list of all the games I had played throughout 2020 and make a video about it. That video was a lot of fun to make, and it got me to reflect on all the different genres of games and types of experiences I've had with video gaming over the past couple of years. So this year, I wanted to revisit that idea and make it a yearly thing I do on my channel. So here are the games I played throughout 2021. A lot of these games actually didn't release this year, but rather are games I've experienced for the very first time, or games that I've gone back into and I've wanted to say some more about in a video. Okay, I'm gonna start out strong by saying my game of the year for 2021 was Hades. Hades is a wonderful game. It is a masterpiece, in my opinion. The voice acting, the gameplay, the story, all of this culminates into an experience that is very accessible for people to pick up, but also very rewarding for people who stick with it and play through the very end. Hades is a roguelite, or roguelike. I'm not quite sure the specific definition, but anyway, you basically die over and over again, trying out new abilities and different weapons on each run. There are so many pieces of dialogue in this game that it's kind of incredible how in-depth the script writers were to imagine all these different scenarios and different, flagged events that can occur throughout your playtime through Hades. And I've always really appreciated when game developers find new ways to enhance the nuance and the complexity of a game, whether that be through the story or the mechanics, and that's always really hard to do because that kind of stuff can't just be automatically generated. It has to be thought up and designed beforehand. And with game development, a lot of things can go wrong, especially when implementing a new system or trying to get started on a new idea. So I really applaud the developers for Hades for making this wonderful game that has, with a focus on Greek mythology, which was honestly one of my favorite topics to study when I was in, I would say, elementary and middle school. So a lot of the content in this game was also very nostalgic for me and reminiscing about the books I read when I was younger. Stuff like Percy Jackson and, Aesop's Fables, that kind of thing. Speaking from games that involve some kind of afterlife and or hell, Doom Eternal. I talked about this game last year, but I really, really got into it this year. I had like 44 hours played last year, and this year I tacked on another 150 hours to it. You may be asking, well, how come you want to talk about this game again? First off, I was able to play through all of the DLC, which was really, really fun. I know people have some complaints about the second one. Well, I guess I just love all of the DLC. I thought it really added to the gameplay, all the different enemy types. And the story kind of sucked, but I mean, if you're going to play Doom for the story, then why are you here, So, the reason why I've gotten so much playtime out of this game is that the skill ceiling for Doom Eternal is really, really high. The master levels that you can play, such as the Super Gore Nest and Terrace Nabad master levels, are probably some of the most challenging yet rewarding gameplay levels in like any game I have ever played, and I highly, highly, highly recommend you try out the Super Gore Nest master level if you have Doom Eternal. I recommend you play this game on PC because on the controller you're probably going to break your fingers, but this game is it just makes me so happy when I play it because it's like there's this constant loop of trying to manage all of your resources and switching different weapons, and the weapon switching is amazing because there's a joke that it's faster to switch to your secondary than it is to reload, and that's very true. I could talk about this game for hours, man. Like, there's so much good game design, and the animation is great. Honestly, I recommend jumping back into Doom Eternal if you haven't played it since launch. They've added so much stuff since then. I don't recommend trying out battle mode. That's all the people who play it are really, really good at the game, and you're just going to get really frustrated. I recommend trying to play the campaign and DLC a bunch of times first and trying out those master levels. So our next game is a bit unconventional. It's a rhythm game, and it's called AVICII Invector. For those of you who don't know, AVICII was a Swedish artist. He made a lot of music, who passed away after he committed suicide, and thus this game was created as a tribute to the music he created throughout his life. And I think this game was really, really fun. I think it was very respectful to his music, and as well as being a celebration of how far he came along in his musical career. And it's really unfortunate that he passed away. I had never really heard of his music before, but after playing this game, I gained a respect for this artist, and I think it would be really interesting to have a game like this for other artists who have maybe retired, or maybe they're gone, because I feel like within a game medium, it's really cool to be able to go through you're basically traveling through someone's entire line of work, and you're playing along to their dreams and aspirations. And I don't know, I thought the premise for this was really cool. It was very respectful, and if you like this artist, you should definitely play this game. The next game I played this year was Unpacking. Unpacking on the surface doesn't seem like it's a very in-depth game. Basically, you're thrown into this room and you're given a bunch of boxes, and you're told to unpack stuff in the order you think where it would go in. Like, for example, if you had socks, you would put them in a drawer, or if you had a plushie, maybe you could put it on your bed, that kind of thing. What really makes this game stand out is that it's not just random rooms you're unpacking the story of someone's life, basically. So each level is a different year, it's a different house that this person has lived in, and it starts from when they're a child, to a young adult, to a more experienced adult. And I never thought I would feel so emotional about a game where you don't even physically see the characters in it. There's one level where you're supposed to put pictures on a bulletin board, and except for this one picture, it contains presumably what is the main character with some sort of person right next to her, and you can't put that picture on the bulletin board, you have to put it in a drawer. And I thought that was so heartbreaking, because it's it basically implies that there was some kind of relationship between the two, and that maybe they had a falling out. The game doesn't completely explain, and it's kind of up to your interpretation, but it's stuff like that makes games really, really cool vessels for storytelling, and I just love when games do that kind of thing. It's a very untapped medium, and games like this, which were made by a small handful of people, can really show that aspect of games that you don't really get with other pieces of media. So Unpacking is a wonderful game. I don't want to spoil any more of it because it's a really short game. It's on Xbox Game Pass, that's how I was able to play it. You should check it out. Overcooked 2. So in a lot of games, there's an element of resource management and micromanaging. In Overcooked 2, you play as a chef along with 3 other people. The goal of the game is to prepare a variety of different dishes and serve meals to customers on time. What makes this game really stand out is how stressful it can be. The gameplay is very moment to moment, and you have to always be on your toes to anticipate what's next. When my girlfriend and I were playing it, we were both having a really good time. but I'm not gonna lie when I say that we were so stressed out. However, the more you play this game, the better you'll get at its fast-paced mechanics and different cooking styles that requires you to master. Pretty soon you'll be chopping vegetables, cooking pasta, steaming broccoli, all while the stages twist and turn in these elaborate configurations that I thought were really cool. You'll be cooking in the sky, in a graveyard, in the kitchen, on a river. There is so much creativity on display in this game, and I think it is best enjoyed when you have another person to experience it with. So if you and your friends, or if someone you know is in the mood to play a cooperative team-based game and you got some extra anxiety to spare, can't go wrong with Overcooked 2. I had a lot of fun with it. I'm still playing it right now. It's a very fun game. Alright, so the next game I have on my list I played recently was Inscrpytion. Inscrpytion is just, it's an amazing game, I think. Not just in terms of gameplay, but I think the meta elements of it are really interesting. Though I do think it kind of falters in the last half. But the first part of Inscrpytion is probably some of the most atmospheric gameplay I have experienced in quite a long time. It's very moody, it's very fun. So like, you're stuck in this cabin at the beginning, right? And you can freely walk around, but there's like this foreboding sense that, you know, I don't know how to talk about this game without spoiling it too much. Okay, maybe I should just focus on the gameplay. So the gameplay is very addicting. It's the first part is it's a roguelite card game that focuses on creating really good decks, upgrading your cards, and every time you die, you can create like your own custom death card that you can add to your deck, and it's a very simple to learn but hard to master type of gameplay experience. And the first part of the game is so good that the creator even has a mod for it that's like an indefinite roguelike experience just to see how far you can get. Like I said, I don't want to spoil too much of this game because a lot of it I think you need to experience for yourself. But I really loved my time with Inscrpytion. Alright, so the next game we have is Donut County. This was another game I played on Xbox Game Pass, and the mechanic of this game is very simple. You play as a hole that gets larger and larger the more stuff that falls inside of you. Now that may sound a little weird, and truth be told, it's not like you're the main character as a whole or something. No, the whole just acts as like a gameplay mechanic to tie into the story, which is about this evil corporation that's run by raccoons and like this town that gets swallowed up by these holes, and it was very cute. I feel like this concept could be expanded on a bit more. I feel like this game was a lot shorter than I thought it would be, but the characters were really cute and friendly, and the colors were nice, and I think it's a worthy like it's a worthwhile investment of your time if you can play it on something like Xbox Game Pass, or if you want to support the developers on Steam or something. Oh, the next game I played is Halo Infinite. So I talked a little bit about Halo last year when I played Halo 3. So this is the first Halo where I've been around conscious enough for the launch of, I guess. Like I wasn't able to be in the peak of the older Halo games, but for this one, you know, I'm there for it, right? So the multiplayer is wonderful, absolutely amazing. So one of my main things I didn't like about the older Halo games is that when you hit someone, it just doesn't feel as satisfying. In this game, when you hit someone, like the sound effects, like the popping and like the visuals, they're all so good, and all the guns do a something different, and it's just, you know, they really took the time and care into crafting a multiplayer experience that anyone could get into, but which is also like accessible to older fans of the franchise. They've added sprinting, and my favorite addition to the entire game is probably the grappling hook. The grappling hook is quite possibly one of the most fun things you can add to a game. You know, I keep praising Doom Eternal, and one of the things Doom Eternal has is basically a grappling hook. You can just go anywhere with this thing. You can, like, what I like to do is I like to grab the energy sword and I use the grappling hook and I grapple behind people and I stab them in the back. And one game, I think I got like 6 kills in a row with that. I wasn't able to record it, unfortunately, but it was such a fun time. As for the campaign, I have not played too much of it. I'm also playing it on Game Pass. But from what I have played, the grappling hook is probably the star of the campaign as well. I mean, like, that's how good this thing is. Like, you could add a grappling hook to any game, and I'd probably play it. You could add it to, I don't know, chess. You grapple to the other side of the board, and I'd play that. So, yeah, I'd give the grappling hook a 10 out of 10. Okay, so the next game we have on our list of games I have played in 2021 is Super Monkey Ball. So I played the original Super Monkey Ball on the GameCube, like 1 and 2, you know? So coming back to this series on the modern platform was really nice and refreshing, especially with all the new content they added. I have it for the Switch, and it's nice that they've also have new characters like Sonic, Tails, and Kiryu? They also added Kiryu, which is really, really fun. A bit of a surprise, but I mean, there's not really much to say other than, you know, it's Monkey Ball, and Monkey Ball is amazing, and if you haven't played Monkey Ball, you should play Monkey Ball. I mean, the physics are a bit different now. It's a lot more forgiving for tighter turns, but at the same time, it's not as precise. So I'm not like a professional speedrunner or anything, I just like playing games. So I imagine a lot of people would be upset about this. But if you haven't played Monkey Ball before, I mean, like, I don't think you're really going to care. Like, it's Monkey Ball, and like, if you want to play the originals, you can play them on like an emulator or something. You know, I don't promote piracy. Wink, wink. I mean, you know, the option's there, right? Yeah. Well, anyway, yep, it's Monkey Ball. I love Monkey Ball. Monkey Ball. Okay, so the next game we have on our list here is Paper Mario Origami King. So, for some reason, I'm a masochist and I own all the new Paper Mario games from Sticker Star to Color Splash to Origami King. I also own Super Paper Mario, but I don't own the original, and I don't own Thousand Year Door. Like I said, I'm a masochist with these games. Something about these games always fascinates me. Like, you could just tell how creatively restricted the people that were making these games were. Like, all the creativity in these new Paper Mario games is put into the set pieces and the setting and like the different paper elements and the colors and like the different materials used, but none of it is put into like the characters or like the improving upon the old RPG system before. And it leads me to believe that there's some kind of higher up decision that's preventing these games from having more personality in terms of those features, because other than like the characters and I guess some of the story, these are very creative games, and you can tell how much passion and effort was put into them. And I haven't played too much of this game yet, but I can say is that they are trying so hard to work with what restrictions they're given. You know, like, it still has the problem with all the toads looking the same and none of the partner characters really returning in any substantial way. Like, they have this bomb character, but he just looks like a generic bomb character. I guess that's what fascinates me. It's like, how could a series that used to be so creative go from that to this? And I know it's it doesn't really make me upset per se. It's more, it makes me fascinated how game design works in like a corporate structure like this. Like, if this was an indie game, you know, I believe there would be a lot more creative freedom with what they could or could not do with these Paper Mario games. But that's just my little rant about the Paper Mario series. I mean, I still enjoy these games to a degree, that's why I buy them. They're really fun to play, just like to chill, and I love the music in all of these games. Plus the setting, so yeah. Origami King is quite a novelty to me. Okay, so the next game, this is the most recent game I've been playing, is Slay the Spire. After I had finished Inscrpytion, I was looking for something to, you know, scratch the itch of a roguelike card game, and I was looking through some options and I found Slay the Spire. Slay the Spire is so good. Oh my god. It's basically like that first part of Inscrpytion, but if it were an entire game, you know, with multiple characters and endless mods and different ways to play. It's such a great game, honestly. I'm at the part where I've beat the game with Ironclad, Silent, and the Defect, and I'm still trying to beat it with the Watcher using the keys. But anyway, for those of you who don't know, it's basically like a deck building game that's randomized every time you play. You go through like these different acts and you get new abilities and upgrades for your cards, some of which are flat out disgusting. Like, I got this build with the Defect that randomized all my all the energy it used to play my cards, so I would get these extremely OP cards that would be like way above my energy limit, I guess, and they would only be like 0 energy, and that's how I defeated the final boss. And it was so much fun. This game will give you a lot of fun, a lot of replayability. I can't wait to finish it with the Watcher, and I'm gonna see other crazy combinations I can come up with next. Alright, so the next game I dived into this year was Fire Emblem Heroes. So the thing about Fire Emblem Heroes is that when it first came out, I downloaded it, and I told myself if I got a 5-star Marth, I would delete the game. And like literally an hour later, I got a 5-star Marth, so I deleted the game. I recently got back into it. I deleted it again because I stopped playing it for a while, but man, it's such a fun game in my opinion. I don't really play gacha games, and I haven't spent any money on this game at all, but I had so much fun with it. I had like a full team of Edelgards, and I was just like tank through everything. And of course, I'm not like the best player at this game. This is coming from a very casual, you know, noob perspective. I wasn't there during the great, I don't know, like Crom Wars or like the Tharjo waifu debacle or whatever, but I really enjoyed this game, and I feel like for a free mobile game you could do a lot worse. So the gameplay is very solid. I feel like it's a little generous with what it gives you in terms of gems and stuff like that. I know some people say it's not that rewarding or whatever, but I mean, I just like going into games like this with not really any expectations and just trying to have as much fun as I can with it. Yeah, I definitely recommend this game. Yakuza 7. So I've only played like 20 minutes of this because when I started up on my computer, my fan got really loud and it scared me, and I'm gonna probably try lowering all the settings. So from the 20 minutes I did play, Ichiban looks kind of cool. He has a cool haircut. You can hear more thoughts about this game from me next year. I'm sorry. Quake 1. Oh, Quake. Man, I love Quake. Like, I don't think I've gotten to say this before, but Quake, I wish it was mainstream again, because I love arena shooters, like, or boomer shooters as some people call them. Quake is just such a great game. I recently got around to playing the first one, and currently I'm playing the second one, so I can't say too much about it. But the first one is like, I wouldn't say it's aged as well as Doom 1 has. I feel like that game has aged a bit better, but Quake 1 is definitely takes the cake for being, very moody with its atmospheric soundtrack, and also its varied environments and abstract level designs that I really appreciate. So these levels are constructed in such a way that you don't think, you think you're getting lost, but you're still on the right path, if that makes sense. You could tell that I think it was John Romero who designed a bunch of these levels. He has a really good knack for level design. He trips you up in ways you didn't think you would be tripped up. I remember one of my favorite parts of the game is where you enter this room and then you see the ceiling closing down on you and you can't escape the room and you think you're gonna die, and right as it's about to crush you, it opens up into like two halves, and then the floor above you rises like an elevator, and that is it plays with your mind so well, and it's just such a unintentionally funny thing to do to the player that this level of care and detail into Quake 1 was really great, honestly. I mean, Quake has influenced so many FPS games to this day, and parts of Quake's code has been found in so many modern engines. I don't have an exact citation for that, but many engines back in the day were heavily modified versions of Quake's engine, like the source engine that Valve uses for Counter-Strike and Portal and all their games and stuff like that. So it's really cool to go back to, I guess, the roots of the FPS genre, and in a way you can kind of see the evolution of how things have come, or how they've stayed the same. I feel like the gameplay of Quake is really, really good. There needs to be a return to form to fast-paced FPS arena shooters. I think they're a bit more niche now, which is unfortunate. It's primarily war games with Call of Duty, Battlefield. Those are definitely what draws people in, and that's totally fine. I totally understand, especially the more realistic games where you're a soldier or something. But man, I just want some more fast-paced games like Quake 1 or Titanfall 2. That's a really great game, and it's a shame that those kind of games are being shafted for battle royales and things of that nature. But maybe I'm just rambling, or I'm just being nostalgic for an era I didn't even grow up in. So anyway, I just want some of these old games back. Okay, so Soulcalibur VI. Truth be told, I have not played much of this game. I used the creator to create myself and my friends in the game. That's honestly all I need to say about this game. If you can make yourself in the game and you can fight the guy from The Witcher, and I mean, in a very similar vein, I played Injustice, and that was pretty fun. I'm not going to put it on here because I don't feel like I played too much of it to really warrant its own spot, but Injustice was also pretty great. I need to play more fighting games. They're just okay. Maybe I'll just go into a little ramble about fighting games. Actually, so fighting games in general are kind of a big time sink. If you're not really invested in the game, it can feel like you're wasting time with a fighting game. So getting into new ones is always so hard, because you gotta learn the combo trees, and you gotta learn the different mechanics, and you gotta grind, and it feels like a part-time job. And especially if the game's online is dead and all the people who are left playing are ones that are really experienced at the game, then what are you supposed to do, right? That's what makes it really hard for people to get into fighting games, I think. And that's why games like Smash Bros are a really good stepping stone for those kinds of things, because the community is very large and the game is really easy to learn, and you can get so much from so little. And I feel like I want to play more fighting games in general, but I just don't know how I can with like all the other games I want to play, my priorities in life and things like that. Fighting games are fun, I love them. I just can't get into them now these days, unfortunately. Okay, so the next game I played this year was Superliminal. I will say that this game made me afraid of seeing shapes. Now you may think that's a weird thing to say, and that's because this game literally changes your perspective. You have to change the different heights and lengths of different objects and obstacles to get through it. It reminds me a bit of Portal and the Stanley Parable with its atmosphere and its narration. I love the feeling of games when you're playing them and you feel like someone's watching you, but there's like no one there. That's a really hard atmosphere to create, and when games do it, I feel so invested, and I feel so scared for my life, and this game does that perfectly. So the thing is, when you change perspective with different objects in the game, I think there's a warning in the game that it kind of messes with your perception of reality for some people. And I know that happened with me because after I stopped playing it for like 2 hours, every time I'd see like a shape or something, I would like have the urge to vomit, and it was bad. Like I had to lay down and close my eyes because if I saw a cube or whatever, I would just get kind of delirious. I don't know. But other than that, I was able to get past that eventually. And other than that, this game is really great. I love the message in it and the puzzles. They're not too long or complex, but they don't need to be. This game's more about like the surprises and the fun you can have with this concept instead of like a in-depth puzzler, which I appreciated. Superliminal is probably one of the coolest games I've played this year, though if you think you would get sick from any of the things I described, I would say maybe play it in short bursts instead of long bursts. It's not like there's anything in this game that is seizure inducing, but it can make you motion sick, so keep that in mind. I don't know how to say this, but I played another Garfield Kart game this year, and I reviewed the first Garfield Kart game last year, and I did not have some kind words for it. And I will say that this game is basically like Garfield Kart 1 if it were stable and if it were like not buggy, So Garfield Kart Furious Racing is basically the same as Garfield Kart 1, except if it were good is too harsh. It's too nice of a term. It's like I said, if it were stable, right? I mean, I played this game for the meme, but honestly, I got kind of invested into it. So can you really say I was playing it for the meme after I collected all the puzzle pieces in the game? I no joke, I want to collect all the unlockables in this game. And you can call me like, he's only doing it for the meme or whatever. And yeah, you wouldn't be wrong, but I genuinely had fun with this game, and I was kind of surprised how much time and effort I put into getting some of these collectibles. I mean, if a game can provide you that, can you really call it bad? Garfield Kart Furious Racing isn't a masterpiece by any means, but it's definitely not bad. And I feel like with the price you can get it at, you can have a lot of fun with it with friends. And, I just love Garfield, so I'm kind of biased here. Alright, the next game is DEATHLOOP. So, truth be told, I haven't played too much of this game because of how poorly it used to run on my old PC. And after getting a new PC, it runs a lot better, but I still need to get back into it. It's a very interesting game. It reminds me a lot of Prey because it was made by the same studio. I forgot if I played Prey this year or last year, but I remember really enjoying that game. And the thing about Prey is that the controls are kind of kind of complex, and I noticed that with this game too. Like, there's a lot of buttons you gotta use and everything, and apparently this game got so many 10 out of 10s, and I'm kind of curious as to why. Because there's only really 4 main areas in the game, and when I played it, I heard they improved this. The AI was awful. Like, you could walk in front of it, and it wouldn't detect you at all, that kind of thing. I was liking the story so far, but I mean, 10 out of 10, you know, I would have given something like that to Hades, or Doom Eternal, or even something like, maybe like Unpacking? I don't know, like, I just don't feel this game is really worthy of a 10 out of 10 so far, but I gotta play more of it. You know, my opinion is very uneducated, and I don't want to say that officially, I guess, until I've played more of this game and have developed a more complete perspective on it. Alright, so the next game is a game I've played multiple times and have enjoyed every single time. Is Kingdom Rush Frontiers. This game, oh, love this game. Love this game. Like, one of my favorite games of all time. I love tower defense games. Like, I love Plants vs. Zombies. I love Kingdom Rush Frontiers. I love all the other Kingdom Rush games. I love the Balloons tower defense games. You know, I grew up with all of those games, and the reason that makes all of those games so much fun is that it's like the crazy upgrades you can do. It's like the different paths you can go on. It's the simple to learn, hard to master philosophy that I love in so many different games, and this game just embodies all of those different things. Like, you got towers that can make skeletons out of enemies you defeat, and you got like archers that you throw axes, and you got the Dwarp, which creates earthquakes, and all the enemies in here are like a pain to deal with, but because they're a pain, when you do beat them, it feels so much more satisfying. And this game is just a really good, it distills what I really love in games, and it's one of those games that makes you realize, man, this is why I like playing video games. That kind of thing, you know? And it's a very, very fun game. Kingdom Rush Frontiers is a lot cheaper to play on the phone. You can play for free online, I think. They had a Flash version, but since Flash isn't a thing anymore, I don't know how that whole thing works. I feel like you could get it to work some way. You can also buy it on Steam. It's a lot more expensive. I think it's also on the eShop, but I wouldn't say that this is like the greatest game of all time, that kind of thing. Like, I'm kind of influenced partially by nostalgia, also just because I love tower defense games, and I feel like if you want some time to kill at work or at school, and you want a game that's like very easy to get into and get out of, and will be worth your time, play this series, or this game specifically. If I'm being honest, I believe this is the best game in the series. That's just my personal opinion, though. You know, there's Kingdom Rush 1, Frontiers, Origin, Vengeance, I think. Love this game. Alright, so next game we have is Bloodstained. So Bloodstained is a very, very faithful game in terms of its inspiration, which is Symphony of the Night. And I've never played Symphony of the Night, but I've played a bunch of Metroidvanias before, and I can say this is probably one of my favorite ones that I've played. I really love the aesthetic of everything. I think the music is amazing. The graphics are pretty good. My only complaint is probably the loading times, but if you have like an SSD or something, those don't really matter. I will say all the abilities and everything are really fun. The bosses are great, you know. But the only criticism I can say is that with these types of games, these indie game projects that try to be revivals of another IP that's long gone, you can like, it's kind of cute to see all the references and story elements that are carried over from, like, because they're like spiritual successors and everything. But at the same time, you're just thinking, like, are these games made for like purely to create something fun, new, and innovative, or are they just made to cash in on like old appeal and nostalgia? And I know this game is a lot more than that, obviously, but sometimes when I play some of these types of games, it only makes me feel like, did they run out of steam and like they're trying to get more people to play them just because it has a connection to an old franchise like what happened with Mighty Number 9? I know that game turned out absolutely awful. It got so much hype because of the creator, and he wasn't even the creator of Mega Man, was on the team. I feel like with these kinds of games, you always have to keep your expectations in check, so that when something really wonderful comes out, you aren't disappointed immediately. That's just how I feel about these kinds of games. I really love Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night, and I feel like it needs a sequel. I believe a sequel is being worked on, but anyway, it's good to see some old Castlevania-esque action, considering Konami isn't doing anything in that department right now, so good job. Okay, so some honorable mentions before I get to the final game. I played Grounded. I haven't played much of it. I played a bit with my girlfriend. It's a survival game where you're like the size of an ant, and we both were scared half to death by the spiders, all the little bugs and creatures and everything. It's interesting how fascinating of a world you can create when you shrink everything down to the size of an ant, Reminds me of that movie, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and I think that's really cool. Another game I've played was Dead by Daylight. I've heard this game was really good. I haven't played too much of it though, but I'm excited to jump back into more of it. I've also played more Stardew Valley, it's always a great time to jump back into Stardew Valley. I don't know when it wouldn't be a great time, like maybe at someone's funeral or something. But at that point, like the grandpa in the game died too, so there would be kind of a connection there. Oh, that was dark. But anyway, Gang Beasts and Human Fall Flat. The reason why I kind of grouped these two games together is because they have a very similar gameplay premise expressed in different ways. Basically, in both of these games, you play as these ragdoll, blob-looking people that have weird physics. This is expressed through traversal and fighting mechanics. Where they differentiate is that Gang Beasts is about the combat. You have lots of different moves and abilities, and you're free to express yourself in this ragdoll physics environment. Meanwhile, Human Fall Flat is about cooperation. You go through these variety of different levels and puzzles that test your teamwork and puzzling skills. Both of these games are very fun. I will say that Human Fall Flat does have a bit more depth to it. That said, Gang Beasts is also a great time to have with friends. It's a lot less stable than Human Fall Flat, so your mileage may vary. I guess I've played some more Animal Crossing. They added the new DLC, but that's just such a time commitment considering that game came out last year. And it's like, I don't really like when games do that as much these days, where they kind of drip feed you content throughout the year now, and you're just like, I want to play the same game forever, I got other stuff to do. Animal Crossing is a fun time. I love Animal Crossing. Alright, so for the final game, it's Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. When this game was announced, man, my friend and I, we couldn't stop talking about it though. And because I love Smash Bros, really, I really do. I just hate the online. And the online is so grating when you have to play on it over and over, especially in a pandemic. More than half this game's life cycle has been played online, and I don't want to go in in-person tournaments and stuff like that, especially with its pandemic still going on, So to have an alternative game to play that's similar to Smash Bros, that has Nickelodeon characters and freaking Garfield, this is wonderful. So the game came out, I played a bunch of it, I kind of stopped playing for a bit, and apparently people are saying it's dead, but I don't believe that really. If you go to the Discord server for this game, it's always pretty active, and the devs are always open to community suggestions and things like that. Just because no one's streaming it on Twitch doesn't mean nobody likes the game, I feel like that's a dumb comparison to make. Though then again, people were saying this game was going to kill Smash Bros. And you know, it's obviously not going to. It's a small indie game made by a studio that made Slap City, which is another high quality game that I recommend you check out. I just like, can't we stop doing this where we gotta like say, oh yeah, yes, yeah, I hate this thing because now it's not what I thought it was gonna be, and now it's... The internet is a constant cycle of putting things on pedestals and promptly kicking them down after 5 minutes, you know. And I can't help but feel that's what happened with this game. As soon as it was out of the spotlight, everyone started curb stomping it. And I feel like that's not fair to the game devs of this game. If you want to like voice your concerns, I think the more appropriate people to contact would be Nickelodeon themselves, because they didn't, you know, provide enough budget and I guess freedom with the game. In terms of gameplay, I absolutely love Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. It's a very, very fast-paced game. I wouldn't say it's like Melee. Melee is like really, really complex and in-depth, and this game can get like that, you know, but it's not on the same level. It's more like a stepping stone from traditional Smash Bros. Games to something like Melee. But anyway, if you guys want to play with me sometime, I would be happy to play with anyone here, you know. Just add me on Steam. I was gonna say shoot yourself in the comments. Yeah, shoot yourself in the comments. Yeah. But anyway, these were the games I played throughout 2021. There was a lot of indie games I was not expecting to play this year, and surprisingly, they made my list, like my top list for games I played throughout the year. And it's kind of cool how well independent developers are doing with their games, and I'm just so happy that there's so many different game genres that people are that are finally being recognized by the indie scene. Like a roguelite card builder game. It's such a cool idea, right? And I played 2 of those this year, and they're both really, really good, right? So I just love games, man. Games just give me so much joy, and that's why I like making these videos. I've only, you know, this is only the second one, but it's just a nice reflection to see what I've played in the past and how it compares to my thoughts of what I played before. Thanks for watching this video. I recently got a new computer, so hopefully I'll be able to edit more videos with more consistent uploads. Anyway, I hope you all have a great start to your 2022. Oh yeah, also on the day I'm recording this, Betty White died in '99, and that is probably the most heartbreaking thing I have heard today, considering she was like a month away from her 100th birthday. Dang. Stay safe, everyone. You know, drive safe, be safe, whatever, in whatever field you do. Have a happy new year.